everyone, and thank you for joining me for Roofing Contractors Best of Success podcast show. I'm so honored to be joined today with Trent Cotney, partner with Adams and Reese. Trent, thank you so much for joining me.
Thank you, Jill, for having me. It's great to be here.
Absolutely. Well, always lots to talk about. So I guess we should just start with California because, you know, as we were talking before we got on here, there's always something happening, especially with the government. And the craziest statement is, I'm here from the government and I'm here to help.
Right.
What are they trying to do out in California, Trent? What's happening? What do we need to know?
Yeah, what are they not trying to do, I guess, is a better question. You know, there's a couple of things that I've been watching pretty closely out of there that I think is worth mentioning. You know, one is AB5. And for those that live over in the West Coast, you're really familiar with this. If you don't live in California, recognize that there are attempts to move closer to this law that's in place. And what it does, Jill, is it affects independent contractor status. So it makes it very difficult for a contractor to hire subs or to treat someone as a 1099 as opposed to somebody that's an employee on payroll. Recently, this has impacted the truckers, and about 70,000 independent contractor truckers out there were affected by this ruling. And there's been a lot of protests and other things. There are carve-outs for, you know, certain industries, but construction and trucking is not one of them. So my concern, obviously, is anytime you're messing with trucking, you potentially impact the supply chain. And I don't think we really need to be doing that right now. So that's one thing. The other thing, and, you know, we've mentioned it, I think, in previous podcasts, is there's a real push to have government regulate wages, you know, and regulate choice. And you and I were talking about it a little bit, you know, from the perspective of doctors prior to the start. But, you know, recently they're moved towards sectoral bargaining. And if you're listening to this and you don't know what that is, Google it, because it's scary. You know, it's a concept where the government creates a council to regulate industries, to determine wages, to basically unionize non-unionized industries, but under government control. And I get concerned anytime you have that level of government intervention in private industry, because I think it may trickle over to construction. So always watch what's going on in California, because it starts there and it moves across country.
No, for sure. And so what is it? Tell everybody again what they need to Google.
Sectoral bargaining. Yeah,
okay.
It's a concept that existed, and it's existed in Europe for a very long time. But the idea behind it is that the government creates a council or a group to help regulate certain industries, determine wages, working conditions, basically unionizing a non-unionized industry. So it's a little bit disconcerting, because you're having government regulate private industry to that extent. So just something to watch out for.
Oh, absolutely. And so we were also just talking about the issues that still continue down in Florida because of Hurricane Ian. And it sounds like there's still a lot of issues happening down there. What, first, let's talk about the calls that you're getting still consistently every day, you were just saying. And what are they asking?
Right. So, you know, it seems like every contractor in the U.S. right now wants to do work in Florida. A lot of opportunity for, you know, both roofing, walls and ceilings, any kind of restoration, dry out type contractor. The problem is that Florida is a very unique landscape that has very strict licensing requirements, very strict contract requirements. And most contractors working out of state are surprised by the level of regulation and also the level of enforcement. You know, we've seen a lot of reports. Roofing Contractor reported on a contractor that was arrested out of Texas. And, you know, I think this is something that you're going to see more of. So that's obviously an issue. And Julie, the other thing that I'm hearing from everybody is there's a lot of struggle and surprise dealing with insurance companies. Obviously, this is going to put insurance companies in a bind. I anticipate that there's going to be a lot of bankruptcies or insurance companies that go out of business as a result of this, the size of the loss from Hurricane Ian. But one of the things that we're seeing is, you know, homeowners and commercial owners are starting to realize the extent of their policies, because oftentimes there are not, insurance companies are fighting, code upgrades. They're questioning depreciation schedules. They are lackadaisical in their prosecution of claims on behalf of insureds. And there's a lot of issues out there that affect, contractors and the restoration industry, because it's intertwined with insurance. So navigating these issues are going to continue to be a problem. And I think it's kind of up to the industry to make sure that our voice is heard and that they recognize that, a deal is a deal regardless of whether it's a bad one. So I think, policies need to be upheld, and hopefully we can, correct the course and get the insurance companies to come to the table.
Yeah, well, if I'm a contractor that's servicing all these homeowners down in Florida, that's really scary to think that there's insurance companies that are going to be going out of business. How does that affect me as a contractor?
Yeah, so, recently Florida has engaged in a lot of very complex, dense legislation on insurance. There's a lot of confusion about what's in place and what's not in place because of legal challenges. But one of the things that came out recently through a special session was a special fund that was set up to kind of assist insurance companies in the event of a crisis. My concern is that that fund, the damage from those claims is going to far exceed what's in that fund. And so ultimately, there are safeguards in place to help with this kind of situation. But dealing with insurance is going to be an issue in Florida. It just is. And that's what I think contractors need to be prepared when they come down here.
Most definitely. Well, Trent, as always, thank you for your insight. And again, everyone, make sure you Google sectoral bargaining. That sounds like that's definitely something that we need to keep on our radar. And we appreciate that insight as well. But Trent, if anybody has any questions, how do they get a hold of you?
Sure. Trent.Cotney@arlaw.com.
Sounds excellent. If anybody has any questions for us, it's roofingcontractor.com, wconline.com, or buildingenclosureonline.com. And while you're there, make sure you sign up for our free e-newsletters and stay up to date on all our great content and videos and our podcast shows with Trent. But most importantly, please stay safe and healthy. And we will talk to you soon.